Hey everybody, Aaron here with Fleetistics, and today I'm going to do a simple answering of some frequently asked questions. So these are questions that we have posted on our website because we get these questions fairly often, and there's misinformation about a lot of these types of things. So I want to go ahead and answer these questions for you. This is based on my experience after doing this for 21 years. It doesn't mean that there isn't new technology out there that I haven't seen yet, but in most of the cases, these types of questions and answers are going to be applicable, and you certainly can use the information to go to whoever you are talking to, hopefully us, but if not, whoever you are talking to about GPS tracking and telematics, so you can get more information, more specific information to make sure that you know exactly what you are getting into. So here we go. The first question is live vehicle tracking really live? And the answer is no. There's always a delay. A lot of people will call it live tracking, but there is a time lag between the time that the vehicle unit logs information. Sometimes the logging frequency is not necessarily the same as the transmission frequency too. So there's a couple different steps in that data collection process. So you log data and then you have to transmit data. And different systems will manipulate those two things to control costs, because the more data that you send across the cellular carrier's network, the more data you use, which means the more that somebody's going to pay. Ultimately, it is you. But in order to be competitive, we want to keep those data transmission costs as low as possible. So typically what you'll see is two forms of data transmission or updating. And the first is a time-based, and this is the most common, which is every 5 seconds to every couple minutes. It could be even once a day. The device is going to be programmed to transmit either when in motion or just basically transmit at a set time throughout the course of the day. And it might be like if you're doing asset tracking, it might be once a day, just so you know that that asset's there. In other situations where you might be doing law enforcement or other types of daily operations activities, you may want that update more frequently, so every 30 seconds might be sufficient. You might find systems like our light platform that might do it once every 1 or 2 minutes in order to drive the price way down around the $10 mark. And then you have some patented technology, and this comes specifically from Geotab, which we call a smart algorithm. And it's kind of hard to explain, but I'll give it a quick shot. We're not going to spend too much time on it. But what Geotab has done through some pretty heavy math is they are basically predicting where the vehicle should be each and every second. And if the vehicle is in that location, then they can project to you the continuous path on the map. So the vehicle moving on the map is really waiting for something to actually change in the vehicle. And as soon as that vehicle changes speed or direction, it will send a correction to the map. So you can imagine when you're going down a road at the same speed, same direction, and nothing changes, they can keep moving the vehicle on that road. And it appears that you're getting updates that frequently, but in reality, what it is, it's moving down that road until something changes in the vehicle, and then it sends that information, and then it changes on the map. So as you turn a corner, it might be transmitting 5 or 6 times, those little direction changes or the speed changes as you slow down to make that turn, which gives the appearance of the vehicle actually turning the corner. And that is a very slick way of doing things. Geotab actually has two different levels of tracking. You can have the standard smart algorithm, then you have active tracking, which is part of the Pro Plus service, which we'd be glad to talk to you about. It's really slick to take a look at, even if you haven't seen it. We have videos on our website where you can look at it, and it just looks like the vehicle is cruising right down the road. For my own studies that I've done personally, that track on the map is about 20 seconds behind the actual location of the vehicle, which if you think about the number of things that are taking place and the billions of data points that Geotab is getting every month, that is pretty significant. So live vehicle tracking is not actually live. And with that, is passive tracking still available? I can't think of a single passive tracking system on the market today. It's a dead technology. Monthly billing is what drives the innovation and the competitive nature of this business. So if you can find a passive tracker out there for your fleet, maybe you want to look at it, but Personally, I wouldn't do it. So next is, what is involved in the installation process? This is a pretty wide open question. Really, people ask this question because they want to know if they should do their own installs. And the answer is maybe. Technology has gotten easier. When we first started doing this, 20 years ago, the GPS devices were much bigger and they were all a through-wire install. And, people say, well, I don't want my drivers to be able to tamper with the system. Well, they tampered with them with through-wire installs. They're going to tamper with them with OBD ports and harnesses and things like that. You can't get around tampering. It's really about what you're going to do about it. But if you are going to wire your own, trackers into your vehicles, then the question is, do you know your vehicles well enough, right? And do you have vehicles that cannot utilize an OBD device? Because if you have an OBD tracker, obviously installation is just removing a couple screws, plugging a couple things in, and really anybody can do that in very short order. So the only time it really becomes a question, again, is if you have to tap into the vehicle's electrical system to get power, ground, and ignition. At that point, if you are unsure, then you definitely need to hire a professional to take care of that for you. In today's newer vehicles, you can run yourself into trouble, but in the older vehicles, those things are probably pretty easy. And I've done enough installs on my own of the older vehicles to know that it goes relatively smoothly. So when in doubt, hire a professional. Those guys actually make you money because they do it all day, every day, and they can do it very quickly. And if you work with them, they will assist you. You will assist them in being efficient, and they will get in and out, which means less of an interruption to your business. We actually have some web pages and information about the installation process and installation planning. So we'll post a link, and you can go check that out as well. So what is the difference between live and passive tracking? As mentioned kind of earlier, passive tracking stores information on the device. It's not transmitting it from the field. It's not using cellular technology. It is basically a dead technology at this point. And that information is held on the device until the vehicle returns, typically within range of a wireless base station of some sort. 900 megahertz was the old technology that we used, potentially Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. There's all kinds of problems that go along with that, from local interference to range issues to speed of download, data transfer, rates, things like that, and then where you're going to store the information, how you're going to access it remotely, yada yada yada. It just goes on and on. So passive technology is is really no longer with us. Next question is, what are the pros and cons of live truck tracking systems? Well, you get to see where your vehicle is, while it's in the field, right? So if you have trucks that are working in another market, you have a big organization, like some of our customers are national. They've got branches all over the country, and they need to keep up with those vehicles from a central location for either for dispatching or maintenance or safety or whatever the case might be. Live vehicle tracking allows you to do that. And is live tracking going to be everywhere? No, because there are spots where cellular data is not available, but the systems today will typically store that information on the vehicle and transmit it later. That's not true of all devices, especially when you're talking about satellite tracking, but the cellular tracking devices will in fact store that data 99% of the time, and then they upload it once they get back into coverage. The other great thing that you can do, especially when you're trying to get this out to your fleet, is if you can let your drivers take their vehicles home at night. Now they're not going to be driven, so it's a pretty big perk for drivers to not have to come back to the office and then drive home again after that. If you can control that, you're going to have a better work environment, and you're going to reduce your turnover and potentially reduce your wages as well as fuel costs associated with getting back to the office. So think about that. That's a huge plus for them. And then the last question is, which cellular carrier is best? The answer is whatever's best in your area, right? And a lot of these devices can operate on the same type of technology. You can't switch, so it's important to have this conversation with your provider, right? If Verizon's strong in your neck of the woods, then make sure you tell that to your company, your GPS tracking provider. If it's T-Mobile, then let them know that, and they can probably get you a device with the proper modem, so you're communicating on what is best in your neck of the woods. So That's it for today's FAQ session. I'll be back on answering some other questions in another video. So hopefully you like the content. If you do, please hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll be sharing more content here in the near future. Thank you and have a great day.